Jackson.
Welcome back into the Sean podcast. I myself am Sean Usher. Right here is Sean Cummings with me. He legitimizes it. I take a little of that sheen off and make us kind of grimy. But looks like we got a lot to get into this week. This week we're talking football. This is our football little day. So, how about we get into this? Sean, say what's up to the people.
Yes, sir. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. Thank you for tuning in to another episode for us. I'm glad I can be your co-pilot on this magic carpet ride, and today we have a very exciting day ahead of us because it's that off season. It's that time between when that franchise tag period ends and before free agency begins. There's a lot of activity, and we have a lot to start with today. So we're going to touch on some franchise tag players first. The players who were slapped with the tag are going to include Denver's Justin Simmons. This is his second tag, so he's making around $13.7 million this year. Nice payday for him while they're working on a long-term extension. New York Jets safety Marcus May gets tagged. Washington team I will not name tagged their guard, Brandon Scherff. This is his second tag, so
They have a name?
What's that?
They have a name?
No, not either. The Washington team that got rid of Alex Smith.
Ooh.
There we go. I'm taking shots at you, Washington.
Take that.
Yeah. My next shot at you is you're paying $18 million for a guard this year. That is the highest cap hits for all guards in the game. I see why they did it. That's a lot of money, though. Also tagged, one that I find maybe a little questionable, Jacksonville left tackle Cam Robinson. I was not expecting this one. And he's getting tagged for around $13.6 million, but I guess you pay for young potential.
Maybe they know something you know.
I mean, they probably do. It's not the worst move out there. They're going to give him another year. After one more year, they have no obligation, so it's not really that bad. I was just surprised. I didn't expect him to get the tag. But you do you, Urban. You do you. You got to make the playoffs so you prove Sean right. So keep doing it. We have New York Giants tagging defensive linemen. Notice how I didn't specify a position. Defensive lineman Leonard Williams. This is the second tag. This one makes sense considering what the Giants gave up to get him from the Jets. So this one makes sense. Yeah. He's getting tagged. He'll cost around a little over 19 million. Now that could be higher though, because right now he is technically still a defensive tackle. I know he has a grievance filed. I know he's trying to get that position updated to defensive end so he gets a bigger payday. But in the meantime, I mean, still 19 million is not too bad for a single year. Not bad. We have Carolina right tackle Taylor Moton, who's going to be making around 13.6. I'm not surprised by this one. I kind of expected this one to happen.
Right.
But nearly 14 million for a right tackle is pretty high. But if you're thinking, hey, it's a bridge year until we get a contract extension in place, okay, I see what you're doing.
But not just that. I mean, he's one of the best at that age.
Yeah. It's very similar with who were they just talking about? Cam Robinson. You're paying for young potential. I mean, what's the worst? It's another year. What's the worst?
And those offensive linemen are important.
Yeah. Yes. Right, Russell Wilson? Right. Feel free to call into the show and confirm or deny this for us, but how do you feel about offensive linemen? And then we have Tampa Bay wide receiver Chris Godwin getting tagged, and I called this one last week, so there we go.
Yeah.
There we go. And one that I kind of saw was Chicago wide receiver Allen Robinson. He is getting tagged. The strange thing is, it doesn't sound like either side has had any extension talk in months.
It's a little surprising to me, to be honest.
If we're going with my train of thought from last week, I'm waiting for the trade. We got the tag in place. That's the first part of all this. Now we need to trade him.
I agree here. I'm there with you.
Being in the Midwest, this is going to be really fun to watch over the next couple of weeks. Really fun as we head into the draft. And then we have New Orleans safety Marcus Williams, who got tagged for about $10.5 million. Not surprising because of the talent, but it is surprising considering their cap situation. Either New Orleans knows something that we don't about the cap, or the rest of the world doesn't know about the cap, or they just don't care. And I don't know which one it is.
I think the NFL knows something happening.
I've heard talks of it being between 180 and 185, but even in that range, New Orleans is still about 50 over the cap.
It's
not
$50,
not 50,000.
We'll get there.
Okay. All right. So those are the players tagged. Now the players not tagged, wide receiver Kenny Galladay. He is a big winner here because now he's entering free agency as the clear-cut #1 wide receiver available on the market after Robinson and Godwin got tags.
Yeah.
You're going to have a lot of teams going after him. He is getting paid. Yes, sir. Also not tagged, which is going to, he's going to have a good market. Los Angeles Charger tight end Hunter Henry. Yeah, he's going to have a market after him as probably the best tight end available. And then some other players we'll go through real quick. New England offensive lineman Joe Thuney, not tagged. Not surprising considering that New England pulled off a huge blockbuster trade today. And I hate to mislead you with that, but it really wasn't a blockbuster trade. They just really...
They got Trent Brown back. Let me say it.
They got him back, yeah. They got him back. He had one good year in New England. He used that to get a $66 million 4-year deal from the Las Vegas Raiders. And after 2 years, the Raiders well, let's get rid of him. So he took less money to go back to New England. I mean, that has to say something to you, right? He takes less money to go back to New England. He knows he can win there. So, and I was a little surprised that we didn't really see much activity with the edge position. No Bud Dupree even talking about the tag. No Hassan Reddick talking about the tag. But that one kind of makes sense with J.J. Watt getting signed very recently. But we didn't hear any talks from Baltimore as far as either of their edge rushers getting tagged. So that was a little surprising. So the winners here are any teams looking for edge rushing help this offseason because only one pass rusher, Leonard Williams, got the tag applied to him. So any team looking for that edge rusher, that's going to be a good market available.
And that's true considering our segment today with the edge rushers. We think they're kind of lackluster this year.
I couldn't say it better or worse. It's lackluster. It is. A big loser, though, was any team looking for safety help because arguably the three best safety free agents were all slapped the tag, which means, your New Orleans, your Jets, and who was the third one? Oh, my goodness.
Denver
there. Oh, yeah, Denver did it last week. Oh, yeah, they know something that the rest of the league needs to know. You need a safety. You need that last line of defense.
It's interesting how the league has gone. Because remember, what was it, 3-4 years ago? Where safeties couldn't buy a contract? They couldn't get onto a team?
Yeah.
Even Tyrann Matthews was having trouble getting onto a team.
The Honey Badger, yeah.
The value of safeties have gone up exponentially.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think, but now I guess with the way the offenses are playing, with the way the defenses are going against those opposing offenses, they realize, hey, we need that safety help, whether it's that center fielder, whether it's that guy who plays closer to the line of scrimmage, whatever that may look like. We need a better last line of defense. So that was a lot of activity that pretty much all went on today. I mean, outside of Justin Simmons getting slapped with a tag last week, I feel like all of this happened between Monday and today, which is Tuesday, which is very exciting because this is what makes me excited about football. Like my dream job when I was growing up, and still is my dream job now, is to be a general manager of a professional football team. You know, I would take any of the 31 teams that aren't played in the Washington, D.C. area. Okay, I'm just throwing it out there. If anyone's listening, like, man, we need a change here in the front office, give me a call.
You can some that could use you.
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on Instagram now, and you can find me on Twitter. I made my way to both of those. So you have no reason not to find me. The Cat Daddy. You know where to find me. I can help you out. And what I really enjoyed over these past couple of days, along with the activity, was Michael Brockers, Los Angeles Rams defensive end, taking shots. I don't know if you saw much of that or heard much of it, but he was taking shots at Jared Goff, saying that Matthew Stafford is a level up over Jared Goff. Really enjoyed that one.
Don't they play each other?
I hope they do. That'd be really fun. Two teams I know will play each other. Brocker was taking shots at newly signed J.J. Watt, saying, "We know who the real 9-9 is," making reference to Aaron Donald and the Los Angeles Rams defense. Pretty much still saying that they're the best defense in the division, even after Watt got signed. So that's really fun. I can't wait for those games. And then he just wants Russell Wilson out of the NFC West. He is crossing his fingers that Russell Wilson gets traded. You know, if I'm any defensive coordinator, defensive player in the NFC West, I may have to agree with that. And then, exciting news, the league season, the new league year, actually begins next Wednesday, March 17th, 4 p.m. Eastern. That's just over 1 week away. But we do have that legal tampering period, which begins on Monday, March 15th. And it continues through until that new league starts. That way the players, well, not the players, that is frowned upon, but teams can contact the players' agents and they can enter into contract negotiations without it being illegal. So that's why they call it the legal tampering period. How about that? And I am pretty sure that is all the news that we have. Oh, wait, I forgot. Levante David signed a 2-year deal to stay with Tampa Bay, and I think that was a really smart move by Tampa Bay to keep him. I know you have Devin White there, but having those two together, oh man, that's just a great combination. We saw how well they did over the playoffs and the Super Bowl, so that was great. A lot of off-season filled with, fun moves so far, seeing people signed and potentially people getting released, and I'm pretty sure I touched up on everything that's happened over the past couple of days.
You're missing one thing.
What?
But there's something else I need to address before I get to the biggest news. You're missing the biggest news. But Michael Brocker, I get you play with Aaron Donald. I get that J.J. Watt is now in Arizona, and you got some nice 99s in the desert. But to your logic, considering Aaron Donald's dominant now, J.J. Watt used to be dominant before, there is another dude out there who will always be 99. And his former team just won a Super Bowl. Put respect on the real 999, Warren Sapp.
Warren Sapp,
just
yes.
saying. But onward bound to the real news. All that other stuff, those are just sprinkles.
Oh, you must be talking about Green Bay Packer wide receiver Devin Funchess taking a pay cut to stay in Green Bay. Is that what it is?
No. And I'm not talking about Aaron Jones.
What?
Hitting the free agent marker.
I got it. You're talking about Tennessee Titan offensive lineman Isaiah Wilson, who only played 4 snaps this past season, getting traded to Miami.
Who?
Yeah, you know, the guy who had a DUI, who was suspended for violating team rules, landed on the COVID list twice. He had to go on the reserve non-football illness list because he was going through some personal issues.
Nope.
You know him. You know him.
We're talking about number 4.
Number
Staying
4.
in Dallas.
What?
Talking about Dak Prescott signing a 4-year, $160 million deal. Could be worth up to $164 million, depending on incentives.
Yeah. I mean, $4 million in this. I mean, what's the difference? $4 million, 164, 160.
Also, with that, I believe it was 56 mil signing bonus.
66. That's the
66.
highest to date. Highest to date.
And
66.
then, if he's on the roster this time next year, he'll already made $75 million. Dang. That's off the contract.
You know, I gotta drop his full name because I'm so excited for this. It's Dakota Raining Money Prescott. That's his full name now. That's what it is.
Now, that's not even my favorite part of this. Wonder what my favorite part is?
I think my favorite part of this, before you disclose what yours is, was how the Dallas Cowboys were going to bat for him. You know, I saw a couple times on social media, players were like, they got to pay him, they need to pay him. And I think that was a great thing to see. You know, they have that team camaraderie. You know, your quarterback is so good.
Nice.
He needs to get paid. So for me, that was like the best part about this. I mean, outside of getting paid $160 million, but the best part outside of that was the team camaraderie. The team knew how valuable he was.
Before I get to the best part, actually, I'm going to get to something else. Anybody who thought that the Cowboys weren't going to sign Dak Prescott needs to go back and realize what Jerry Jones is. What is Jerry Jones at his core? He is a businessman.
Absolutely.
And there is nobody, absolutely nobody in the NFL who is more marketable than Dak Prescott. He's got that everyday look that makes you want to root for him and relate to him. You don't let that commodity walk out the door, especially when they're a top 5 quarterback. You just don't.
Nope.
You don't realize that. Like this, Dak Prescott has like 8+ national commercials. That's not local Dallas. That's literally the whole country. Now, on to the best part. The best part of this whole thing is this year, Dallas will get a cap hit from Dak at about $22 million. But the Philadelphia Eagles are going to get a cap hit of $33 million for Carson Wentz not to play for him. That's the best part.
You're right. I want to change my answer to what the best part is. I want to change my answer because this is far better. I can't believe that Philadelphia is paying Carson Wentz so much to not be on their roster this year.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, moving on. With all the fun and games there, you know, we love ragging on Philly. Let's move on to some of our segments. So, the first segment we're doing is our prospects segment for the draft. And this week we're doing edge. So, this week I'm going to have you go first, Sean.
All right.
And we're going to start with your number 5.
Well, before I tell you who my number 5 guy is, like, you know, when you think of edge rushers, you're thinking of them as probably one of the cornerstones to your roster, right? You're thinking quarterback, you need a left tackle, you need a shutdown corner, you need a pass rushing monster. And normally teams can find those players in the draft. I mean, you're thinking recently you got the Bosa brothers going, you have Myles Garrett as an example. Like, the teams are able to find these monsters in the draft at the top of the draft, so they don't have to wait very long. And it's one of those where if you're edge needy, you're hoping to be at the top of the draft. But man, this year is completely different. Going through and looking at these edge rushers this year, there's a deep edge class, but it's not strong. It's full of raw players. It's full of players who may need multiple years to reach their potential. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be a bad class, but it may not be a good one either when it comes to the edge rushers. So if you're a team looking to draft an edge at the top of the draft, you better chase someone in free agency. All right, so a lot of these guys I'm talking about today are going to be players who I may use the word potential and upside. And, you know, it's very possible they may need a couple of seasons until they actually start producing, depending on the team that they go to. So all of that said, it took me a while to put together this list too, because I had players going from like 1 to 5. I had players dropping off my list. I added players to my list. It was a whole thing. Like, this was the hardest position group I've had so far. Anyways, all that to say, my number 5 guy is going to be someone who has been mocked in the top 10 in drafts, at least the early drafts, and that is Gregory Rousseau from Miami, Florida. Now, his 2019 season was very productive. I mean, that's what you want to see when you have a redshirt freshman taking the field. 13 games that year, he had 15.5 sacks, 22 tackles for a loss, and he threw in 2 forced fumbles just for good measure. He was a beast. I mean, you could probably say he was one of the best edge rushers in 2019. But he's been characterized as raw, and that means he's going to need a lot of work at that next level. So there's going to be a lot of pressure that's put on the head coach, the defensive coordinator of whatever team drafts them, to make sure they're doing their job to develop them. The dangerous part is, when I think of Gregory Rousseau, do you know which defensive lineman I think about?
Who is that?
Jadeveon Clowney. That's the first name that comes to mind. Monster in college. That was 2019, though. He opted out of 2020. We have no tape on him. He needed those reps. He needed those snaps to continue growing and developing. He's got one really good year, and I think that might cause him to be overrated. So, 2019 was a really good tape, though. So if you're only going to have one good year, that's the kind of year that you want to put out there. So he's a one-year wonder that some team is going to take a chance on. So I have Gregory Rousseau, my number 5 guy. Who do you got?
My number 5 guy is also Gregory Rousseau.
Hey.
Now, with Mr. Rousseau, I struggle. Because, again, you say the word potential. Dude looks the part. Dude is rocked. He looks like a pass rusher. Mm-hmm. He's got quickness. He's going to win the underwear Olympics. The problem with him is when you actually do the scouting, and I'm not a real scout, but I know enough. You can see that a lot of his sacks were manufactured by scheme.
I can see that.
You see him looping back around. Mm-hmm. You don't see him winning 1v1 very often. I know you said Clowney. The difference between him and Clowney was a beast in college. I seen Clowney just toss dudes and then go for someone. Didn't he knock somebody out in one play?
That was. Are you referring to the bowl game against Michigan where he just plowed through the middle and he just lit up the linebacker in the backfield, popped his helmet off?
Like, God.
Yeah, you're not seeing those plays from Rousseau. Absolutely not. No.
And the whole thing is, with the potential, he could be something special. But it's still all potential. He scares me.
Oh,
What
absolutely.
he makes me think of more is Deion Jordan, and that really scares me.
You mean Deion Jordan, who went number 3 in the draft?
Yes, that Deion Jordan.
Oh, man.
All right, who's your number 4 guy?
All right. My number 4 guy is from Penn State's Jason Owu. I think I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, Jason, I am so sorry. So sorry. This is a guy who's got quickness. He has reported 4.3 speed. He's flashed some potential with edge. In 2019, he had 5 sacks, 5 tackles for a loss, 2 forced fumbles. What may be a little concerning is his 2020 tape. I know it was a shortened season, but he recorded 0 sacks for the season, which you're not looking for 0 sacks. You're trying to find an edge rusher.
It's true.
He did have 9 tackles for a loss, though, so he's getting to that backfield. He's being disruptive still. He did look better against run defense this year, which was good to see. I think in the pros, he may start out as a situational pass rusher. You're probably going to take him off the field when it comes to those obvious run plays. So he's not going to be a true 3-down player in that first year, maybe those first couple of years. He's got a great ceiling, very similar to Rousseau. He's got a great ceiling. We just have no idea what that floor looks like for him.
I get what you're saying there. He is not on my list. I do like him. He's very raw. That word again. And it's going to take some time to develop. And here's my problem with these raw players that take a little time to develop. Are they going to be on that team for their second contract? Are we talking Danielle Hunter? Or are we talking Shaquille Barrett?
Yeah, I mean, for those players, you'd have to keep them for that second contract to get the most out of them.
True.
Mm-hmm.
But in that regard, how much you pay those players, et cetera, et cetera. Now, my number 4 guy is Jason Owu. I mean, sorry, Jason, that was your guy.
Yeah.
Mine is Joseph Asai out of Texas.
I was like, hey, we agreed again.
I'm having an off night. Joseph Asai out of Texas. I'm just, unlike Jason Owu, Joseph Asai had a really good 2020. He showed a lot of burst. He showed power. He wasn't special, but he was good. And he's one of those guys that you could bring in, needs some more development, but he's one of those that I could see you giving that second contract to because he's shown that the development already. He's going to develop a little faster than some of these other guys.
Yeah, Joseph Osai was going to make my top 5 list, but I had Gregory Rousseau as my number 5. If Rousseau was off my list, Osai would have been on it. I just felt like I had to keep Rousseau on there just because of that potential word. Because the sky is really the limit for him. Again, that floor, we have no idea what it's going to look like or how good or bad that could be. But Osai was very... I mean, at one point, he was in my top 5. I'll give you that. I mean, I put my list together like 14 times. I had many different people in there. That just shows you the depth, but also the bad part is not the talent of the class, but how they could be viewed. So at one point, he was in my top 5. So we're pretty similar there.
All right, who's your number 3?
All right, my number 3 guy is Aziz Ogilari from Georgia. So he has good athleticism, he has good quickness, he is an explosive player, and he had a pretty solid season last year, finishing with 8.5 sacks, 13 tackles for a loss, 4 forced fumbles. It's always good to see. And he may be considered the most versatile edge out there because he has the athleticism and quickness not only to rush the passer, but also drop back into coverage if it's needed. So scouts are probably going to say that he needs to improve his technique, and very similar to some of the other prospects here, scouts are probably going to say he should have gone back to school for one more year, gotten a full extra season of snaps in, and just going through the motions, going against college talent for one more year. But hey, I'm not about to tell this man what to do with his money. He's about to get paid. He's got potential, and someone's going to draft him either on first or second rounds, day one, beginning of day two. Somebody's going to take a chance on him because of that potential word.
All right, so my number 3 is Kwity Paye. And Kwity Paye is one of those guys I struggle with because he's obviously good, but his is more of a power game. It's not like he doesn't have explosion. He does. But he's one of those more power guys. Kind of inside-outside type guy. I see you moving around the offensive line. The defensive line. Like I said, I'm off tonight. But you move him around the defensive line, wrecking into the offensive line. He had a pretty solid beginning to 2020, and then he started tapering off, and then he opted out. So we're gonna have to see where like it's good. How are these guys valued?
Yeah, it really depends on what does a team look for, what characteristics, what qualities do they want in an edge rusher. I mean, but you're right, he certainly was moving those offensive linemen, so you're right in that sense.
So, time for your number 2 guy.
All right. Now, the top 2 is actually where it became easier for me. I had the 2 guys here at the top, and I felt pretty confident that they were going to be on the list no matter how many times I created it and updated it, edited it. I felt like they were going to be on this list. So my number 2 guy is the guy who took advantage of Gregory Rousseau taking the year off. Jaelan Phillips, Miami, Florida. He transferred after 2 seasons at UCLA. He never really had the chance to shine, but he steps into Miami. Gregory Rousseau's out. That's his chance to shine. He came through. He had 8 sacks. He had an interception. He defended 3 passes, ended up with 45 tackles, so he definitely made the most of his opportunity. I mean, this was the kind of production that UCLA was looking for when they recruited him. He just didn't have that chance to show it off. The guy is 6'5", nearly 260. He is fast for his size. He has a very wide tackle radius, which is something that's going to be good for him. And this past season, he really stepped it up in terms of the pass rushing ability. So, I mean, if you're looking at technique for a player, he is probably one of the more technically refined players that are available as an edge rusher. He's not just going to blow past you with speed. He's not going to just bull rush your guy, your offensive lineman back. He can do 1 or 2 moves. He's a little bit better. That's who my number 2 guy is, Jaelan Phillips. Who do you got?
My number 2 guy is also Jaelan Phillips.
Hey!
Now, to be honest, this should be the number 1 guy. The problem with Jaelan Phillips is the injury history. Because this guy's got all the tools. He looks the part. Some people are even saying he's going to be more athletic than Gregory Rousseau. But the biggest problem with him is that injury history. Can he stay healthy?
Yeah.
Because if you didn't have that, I guarantee he's the number 1 guy. You know, he's being taken in the top 10.
I'd agree with that. Clear medical checks, no injury history. Yeah.
All right, so we got our number 1 guys. I think some people have heard both these names, just in a different order. Who's your number 1 guy?
Name on. My number 1 guy, Kwity Paye from Michigan. I mean, when you've been thinking about that Michigan talent recently, a lot of that's on the defensive side of the ball. At least when I think of the Michigan talent, and mostly it comes to mind are defensive players, and Kwity Paye is no exception.
Michigan defensive players.
So while his stats are not going to jump out at you, he's had, 11, 12 sacks over his 3.5, 4 seasons, depending on how you view this past season. He's got a good combination of size and athleticism. I think I heard that he even played running back in high school. Now, the guy is 6'4", 277 right now. Can you imagine a running back that size coming at you, or close to that size in high school?
That would be scary.
That would be scary, absolutely. But it just goes to show that the athleticism he has, the speed that he has to be able to do that. He displays good technique. The scouts see a lot of intelligence in him. And he's developing more as a pass rusher. But just like all the other players we're talking about, he's going to have to go to a team that's going to invest the time to train him, build him up, and make him better. He's got potential. But really, any different day, we could have been talking about these players in any order, but the reason I settled as Kwity Paye for my number one, I shouldn't say settle, that's not the right word, but the reason he got to my number one is we kind of know where his floor is. We just don't know where his ceiling is.
True. To be honest, he kind of reminds me of another Michigan guy. Not who you think I'm going to say.
You're not going to say Taco?
No. I'm going to say somebody that you know. Rashawn Gary.
Okay.
I can see similarity. But, moving on to my number one guy.
I'm curious, who's your number one?
Aziz Ogilari. I might have butchered that name, but it's okay.
The guy I had number 4. Ooh.
The guy you had number 4.
Or number 3. Sorry, number 3.
Sorry, yeah. Number 3. Yes. He's undersized, yes. But this guy can rush the pass. And what's the job there? Rushing the pass.
Yep.
So this guy's got all the tools to be able to do that. And I think he can actually make an impact in year one. Maybe not in the beginning of the year. By mid-year, he could be doing something in the right defensive scheme. Of course, he has to be in the right defensive scheme.
Yes. Yep. But then you can make the argument about any rookie coming out in any year.
No. Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa, they were going to be successful regardless.
Okay, for most draft prospects. Let me update that just a little bit. For most draft prospects. That's a true statement, yeah.
Yes, for most.
Yeah. But that's the crazy thing. That's the crazy thing. Like, our top 5 list, I'm surprised it had so many players in common. Although we had, one, maybe? We had one that matched Rousseau. But
Two that matched.
Who did
Phillips and Rousseau.
Oh, yeah, we had Phillips number 2.
All right, so just to recap for everybody. Sean's list is here. Number 1 is Kwity Paye. Number 2, Jalen Phillips. Number 3, give him that name for me, Sean.
Aziz Ogilari.
Then number 4, another name I'm a butcher. Go ahead.
Jason Owu.
And then number 5, Gregory Rousseau. Then we got my list. Again, my number 1,
Aziz Ogilari.
There we go. Number 2, Jalen Phillips. Number 3, Kwity Paye. Number 4, Joseph Asai. And number 5, Gregory Rousseau.
I have a theory now. I have a theory why you had Ogilari going number 1.
Well, what's that?
It's because you were hoping that he was within my top 5 and that I would pronounce his name first.
It's quite possible. All right. Let's go to our next segment. We're going to go with cornerbacks first. Goodness, sorry about that. And we got Richard Sherman up. So, if he doesn't go back to the San Francisco, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like he won't be back. What team will he be going to? And I myself have him going to the Las Vegas Raiders, which I see him as a good fit. This is reuniting with Gus Bradley, and it just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I mean, Richard Sherman can still do it, even in his old age. I mean, he's always more of a savvy player than athletic. So that goes in his favor here. And I can just see his personality meshing with Gruden.
He may be a little bit on the older side, but he's a leader in the secondary, and he's still got a few good years left. And I think he wants a chance at the playoffs again. So my destination for Richard Sherman is also the Las Vegas Raiders. You know, Gus Bradley's there, reunited, and it feels so good. The Las Vegas Raiders need to improve their poor secondary play. He's played with Gus Bradley before. Gus Bradley already knows what he's capable of. John Gruden even went on a talk show with Richard Sherman. I think Richard Sherman is a co-host, and he was actively trying to recruit Richard Sherman during that interview, which I thought was really ballsy. I'm not sure how the league felt about that one, but well, we'll leave that for them to decide. League schmeeg. But I mean, Gruden's already let Richard Sherman know that he's looking for, I think he called it the alpha presence in the secondary. And that's exactly what Richard Sherman can bring to your team. Yeah, he's older. He's still a leader. He's got a lot to contribute to that secondary.
And he's savvy. He's still savvy.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so next up, we have William Jackson III. And this guy is like silently a really good cornerback. He's been playing for Cincy, this is a rookie deal. And I think he is going to move on. They obviously did not franchise. So I don't see a deal getting done. I think he wants to get paid. He's played for a bad team. This next team is still bad, but maybe they've got some enthusiasm for him, and they'll at least have a bag of money for him. I got the New York Jets. I mean, he can help to at least improve that secondary and maybe make Marcus May want to stay.
Yeah, that'd be a nice addition. I'm not surprised that there was no franchise talk about either William Jackson III or Carl Lawson, considering that they were both drafted back when Marvin Lewis was head coach, right?
Yep.
So Zach Taylor, the current Cincinnati head coach, there wasn't much of a need to keep them around. They were just layovers from the previous regime. So I'm not surprised that there was no franchise talk, nor do I think that they're going to be retained. They're going to find new homes. I heard a stat, and I'm not sure how accurate it is. I need to go back and double check this, but the past 3 seasons, I heard that William Jackson gave up 14 touchdowns. If that's true, slightly alarming.
True.
But I don't know how accurate this is. I didn't do a good job of checking my numbers on William Jackson before our recording tonight, so I do apologize for that. But he's one of those players who he hasn't put it together yet. He hasn't put the whole game together yet. In the right situation, with the right coaches, he can absolutely be solid. It just wasn't in Cincinnati. Could that be New York with new head coach Robert Saleh? Hey, that could be. I mean, Robert Saleh did a good job with Richard Sherman, with Jason Verrette. Maybe he can work some wonders with William Jackson too. But I don't have William Jackson going to New York. I have him instead staying in that Northeast, going to Buffalo. So I know Buffalo needs help with that number 2 corner spot because let's face it, Tre'Davious White can't cover everyone. And if there's anything and if there's anything that Buffalo's going to learn from their playoffs this year is, one, stop kicking field goals and go for it. And two,
Seriously.
You need more cornerbacks in the field, especially when you get to playoff football and you're going against a team like the Chiefs. You need more cornerbacks, good cornerbacks. So I think my prediction, with all my insider information, which is absolutely nothing, is I'm thinking William Jackson goes to Buffalo.
All right. On to our next one. Troy Hill of the Los Angeles Rams. Now, he silently had a really good year, because you got to think Ramsey on the other side, he was going to get tested, and he did get tested, and he answered the call. He did a really good, solid year, considering no one wanted to go the other way. Now, I think that he is going to get out of LA. Well, yes, out of LA. And he's going to get some money. And it's because the Rams just don't have the money to give him. And there's a team that needs corners that has some money, even though they've given up some money recently to some Rams players. And that team is the Detroit Lions.
Reunited, and it feels so good with Jared Goff.
The Lions need to rebuild this defense from scratch, and they need players. So I think the Lions are going to be big players in the free agency.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if over the next couple of years we see, how similar I was talking with William Jackson not being retained or even franchise tagged in Cincinnati because he was under the old regime. I wouldn't be surprised to see in the next couple of years more Detroit Lion, especially defensive players, not get re-signed just because it was under an old head coach and it's completely different now. But for Troy...
All right, so where do you have Troy Hill going?
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. He can be overlooked at times. He's silently productive just because you have Jalen Ramsey on the outside. Probably considered one of, if not the best slot corners in the league. Thought to be a dynamic ball hawk with aggressive cover skills, so that's something you're always looking for. And he's leaving the Rams, but he's not leaving Las Vegas. Or not Las Vegas. Yikes, Los Angeles. Wow. I think he's going.
I think I'm rubbing off.
I know, yeah. I think he's going to the Los Angeles Superchargers. I don't think the Los Angeles Rams are going to be able to pay him to stay, so he's definitely leaving. But he's not traveling very far. He can still stop by the Rams facility once in a while if he wants to. I don't know why he wouldn't, but he could. Maybe talk a little trash to Michael Brockers. Who knows? Let's get some more news headings, clippings going on. But I think he's going to reunite with new head coach and former Los Angeles Ram defensive coordinator, Brandon Staley. He had a good year. I think there's some familiarity there. They're going to take advantage of it. Los Angeles Chargers need some help in that secondary.
All right, so the next one here, I actually took a detour from our production meeting. So Sean actually doesn't know where I'm going to go right now.
Ooh.
And it's Patrick Peterson. I'm going to have Patrick Peterson reunited with another LSU corner. Now, no, I don't think he actually played with this player, but those LSU ties run deep. Them Tigers, they're all about each other. So, he's going to go to the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, a little Tre'Davious White. Oh, okay. I see what you're doing.
Peterson and Trey White, get some LSU action on the outside there.
All right. Yeah, it's very true. Buffalo needs that number 2 corner. They absolutely need
Peterson's a little bit older. He might have lost some athleticism, but he's still damn good.
He's still good, absolutely. I think with Peterson, the Cardinals are getting tighter when it comes to the cap, especially since they signed J.J. Watt. I mean, they weren't in a good position before they signed J.J. Watt, but he just makes it a little bit tighter. So I think you could see them lose some of those quality players like Patrick Peterson. Now, is he the shutdown corner he was a couple of years ago? No, he is not. But can he give you some reliable coverage? I think so. I think similar to Richard Sherman, he's got some good years left. I mean, you got to imagine at this point in his career, he wants to go to the playoffs and he wants to win in the playoffs. So if I'm picking a team, I got to think playoffs are important. The ability to win are important. And I like what you did with the LSU tie because I'm going to go in a similar direction. I'm going to think playoffs. I'm going to think LSU ties. I'm thinking Honey Badger. I'm thinking the Kansas City Chiefs.
Actually reuniting.
And it's going to feel good there, too. It's going to feel good. Mm-hmm. So what did Kansas City learn from their loss against Tampa Bay? One, you need offensive linemen. You need healthy offensive linemen. And two, man, you got to stop that defense. You need to put more corners on the field. Good corners on the field. It's similar to what Buffalo just learned. But, yeah. Kansas City. There we go. All my insiders told me that.
Powerhouses there.
Yeah. And by insider, I mean my cat. My cat just told me. So, I don't know.
So our last guy on the list is Jason Verrette. And I actually do have him leaving San Francisco, but not going too far. I got him going to the Arizona Cardinals.
So he's staying.
I'm replacing Patrick Peterson on the Arizona Cardinals.
So he's not traveling far, staying in the division.
Right.
Okay.
Now Jason Verrette, he's a smaller corner. He's kind of scrappy, but when he's had some health issues, but when he's on, he's on. And so I can see him fitting in this particular defense really nicely.
Yeah, I think the key for Jason Verrette is staying healthy. You figure he's been in the league for 6 seasons. He's played a total of 39 games. I mean, when you're averaging that out, that's 6 to 7 games per year. That's not good. He's played 2 almost complete seasons. His 2015 campaign, the second one with the San Diego Superchargers, he played 14 games that season. He went to the Pro Bowl. And then this past season, he played 13 games under Robert Saleh. He put up a pretty good year as well. He had 2 interceptions, 7 pass defenses, put up 60 tackles. I think he's going to use that success with Robert Saleh, and he's going to fly across the country. He's going to join Marcus May. He's going to the New York Jets.
Ooh. So, what do you think he does for the Jets?
For the Jets, they're a team that needs secondary help, and you got to figure Robert Saleh is a brand new head coach. He needs somebody in there who he can trust. He needs somebody who's going to really not provide an anchor, be a shutdown corner, but can help teach the younger players Robert Saleh's way. And I think that's a lot of what he's going to add. But his success on the field, interceptions, pass defenses, tackles, stops, ability to make the Pro Bowl, it's all going to be based on his health. So we're hoping that the New York Jets have better trainers and athletic staff than San Diego Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers, San Francisco 49ers. I mean, you just got to wrap the man in bubble wrap, and he'll be fine, right? Until they
just give him one of them superhero shots.
Like Captain America. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this is a guy who you could have made an argument, should have won Comeback Player of the Year this year had it not been for Alex Smith.
True. I know who's winning Comeback Player of the Year next year.
Let's see. Who's Devin Funches? It definitely must be Devin Funches.
Who? All right, moving on to our safety class or segment. So first we have Anthony Harris up, plays for the Minnesota Vikings. They can't. They didn't franchise him again because they had already done it, and I just don't see them paying him. So I have him moving on, and I have him going to the Washington football team.
Ooh.
They've got a solid defense. They do need help in the secondary. He would go a long way for helping that team take away some of those weaknesses in the secondary.
Yeah, you need a lot of help in the secondary. The Washington team that got rid of Alex Smith. All right. Okay. I gotta say, going through the safety segment this week for free agents was a little bit more challenging because throughout the day you had Marcus May getting tagged. You had Marcus Williams getting tagged. I mean, last week we had Justin Simmons getting tagged. So the list today...
Shuffling the list.
Pretty much. That's what it was. Surprisingly, Anthony Harris had 0 interceptions last year. He led the league with 6 in 2019, but it just goes to show the struggles that Minnesota defense was experiencing last year.
It also goes to show the high variance of interceptions.
Yeah. Do interceptions matter? Yeah, everybody loves turnovers. Are they the only stat you should be looking at? No. But I like to say that Anthony Harris and I tied last year for number of interceptions. So.
But when you're a safety, the stat that really matters, how many touchdowns did you give up?
Absolutely. That's a really important stat for him. Now, he had no picks. That doesn't mean that he didn't play well himself. Right. He put up 104 tackles, so he was doing good against the run game. He was still pretty good in coverage, too. He wants long-term security. I would have been surprised if Minnesota would have put the franchise tag on him. So I'm definitely expecting him to leave Minnesota. He's going to go to another team that needs some safety help. And, he's probably one of the better safeties in the market, probably top 2 safeties available in free agency. So teams are going to be throwing money around for him. I think he's going to go somewhere with some familiar coaches, though. Remember, who's the head coach of Cleveland? He used to coach where? Minnesota? Kevin Stefanski? I think you're going to be reunited with Anthony Harris.
There you go. And, makes sense there. Cleveland's got a young secondary. Very talented, but really young. He could help come and solidify them, show them how to be pros. Pick some stuff up there.
Yep.
So, our next guy, John Johnson, LA Rams. I have him leaving also. Almost sneezed. I have him leaving also. And I have him going to the New York Jets. I don't think the Rams are going to be able to pay people this year. So, some of these guys are going to go out. They're going to get payday. And the Jets would be smart to use free agency to help build up their secondary around May. Because their front seven's not terrible. But they need help in that secondary. What was it, last year? They started a bunch of rookies at corner? No. Now, I think it was Bryce Hall. They found a solid one, but they need more guys. And I think John Johnson, paired with Marcus May, could be a really solid duo.
That'd be really nice. That'd actually also be really scary for a team to go against. May and Johnson back there. I mean, you're thinking even during his injury-shortened 2019 season, John Johnson the third. You know, we have two people in these segments here that are the third.
The third.
His 4 years in the league, including last year, 2019 shortened season, he's gotten 8 picks, 32 passes defended. That's some good productivity right there. I mean, that's what you want to see from a safety position. This past season was pretty good. You know, he racked up 105 tackles, 8 passes defended, 1 interception. But more importantly, he improved against the run. He actually played well against both run and pass. But he was also the player on their team, on their defense, who was calling their defensive plays. So that just goes to show that he has some leadership skills, and he can definitely parlay that into a team that needs that leadership, such as the New York Jets. But that's not where I have him going. Do I think he's leaving the Rams? Oh, yeah. The Rams are in a horrible cap space. I'm looking at over the cap right now, and the Rams are currently $35 million over the cap. So they don't have much of a chance to keep him. But were they going to keep him anyways? Think of the history of Los Angeles Rams defensive backs they've allowed to walk out the door. Tremaine Johnson, Janoris Jenkins, LaMarcus Joyner, TJ McDonald. It's nothing new. And it's not surprising. So I think that John Johnson III is going to follow and just go right out the door with the rest of them. Destination, though, he's going to be a huge upgrade for their secondary. They just got Richard Sherman in our segments. And he would join former Ram teammates LaMarcus Joyner and Corey Littleton by going over to the Las Vegas Raiders. And fun fact, John Johnson III went to Boston College, and so did the Las Vegas Raiders GM.
Yes.
Mayock went to Boston College. We got a little connection there. I'm just connecting dots. No insider information, just connecting dots. That's what I'm doing.
Doing the detective thing.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to a player I know very well, Mr. Xavier Woods. I actually don't think he's going to be back with Dallas. I think it's time to, break free. I think Dallas is going to upgrade their safeties through free agency and the draft. That's why I actually have Dallas taking a different safety later on. But we'll get there. Xavier Woods, I actually have going to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Hey, we're giving the Raiders a lot of help this offseason.
The Raiders, they have a propensity to take former Cowboys players like Malik Collins. I forgot the fullback's name. Jason Witten. Apparently just a lot of former Cowboys tend to end up with the Raiders. Where do you have Xavier Woods going?
So not to the Raiders. I gave the Raiders John Johnson III, so I can't give him another safety. I gave him Richard Sherman in the cornerback segment.
They got to give John Abraham a chance.
Yeah. So, Xavier Woods, is he leaving Dallas? Yeah. Is he productive like they needed him to be? No, but considering that he's
got ability.
Considering that you drafted him in the 6th round, though, that guy ended up being a steal. When you think of the value that you should get from a 6th round talent, I think he outperformed that value.
Potentially pick.
But his play was considered mediocre? It
was average.
Yeah.
To be honest, average.
This past season was a down season for the whole defense. So, you really can't put that on Xavier Woods.
Well, you can't put on learning a completely new defense with no off seasons.
That's the challenging part, absolutely. So, do I think this past year may hurt him a little bit? I think it might make him a little bit risky. But I have him going to a team that has recently released their own safety, Carolina Panthers. They just released Trey Boston a couple weeks ago, or within the last couple of weeks. So I think they're going to pick up Xavier Woods to fill that gap. He's a durable option. He's just not an exciting option, which is good for Carolina because he's going to come on the cheap.
Here's the thing with Woods. If you're playing more man coverage, I think he's going to be better in that situation. He's good when he doesn't have to cover a bunch of space. If he's covering a man, then he's very good. But when he has to be put in space, it's like zone, he gets kind of lost.
Yeah, I think my big question for him is, will he be bringing Kofi Kingston and Big E with him wherever he goes? See that little crossover that we just did? Xavier Woods? Yeah.
Well, the funniest thing, when he became part of the Cowboys, I went to look him up. And the first thing that came up was the wrestler. It was actually quite hilarious. So, next up, we have Malik Hooker. And Malik Hooker is the one that I have going to the Dallas Cowboys. Man, I can't talk today. How am I doing a pod? And the reason why is because I think he's going to come on the cheap. He's had some injury issues. He's going to be a little bit cheaper. The Cowboys are kind of that bargain hunting type guys. And they'll bring him in so they don't get pigeonholed with the draft. And if he comes in healthy and on, Malik Hooker's a dang good player.
Yeah, I mean,
The problem is those injuries.
You're not going to sign him to a long-term contract. I think at first you're going to do that 1-year prove-it deal. You got to show me you can go through a full season. Sure. I think anything beyond 2 would be not ridiculous, but borderline ridiculous. Anything beyond a 2-year deal. Have we seen his full potential? No. No, I think he did 1 good year in college, and he left right after that good year, and that was a smart move. Leave when your stock is the highest. But we haven't seen his full potential in the pros either because of injuries. He's only played 36 games over these 4 seasons.
But the rookie year and the start of the next year were looking really good.
I mean, the injuries are probably a big reason why the Colts declined his 5th-year option.
Obviously.
He was a first-round pick. Could he be with the Colts still? Hey, if he'd had a healthy, a good bill of health, some lucky breaks in there, yeah, he could still be there. But here he is, getting ready to leave. We saw potential at Ohio State. Whatever team signs him is going to be hoping that the potential he has is not completely faded.
Hope that he stays healthy.
They are.
This is another Jason Verrette situation.
Absolutely. The team that gets him is really going to be knocking on wood and holding a rabbit's foot in their hand for the whole season, wrapping the guy in bubble wrap. And
I think there's another guy that we're going to be saying the same thing for next year.
Who's that?
But Derwin James.
Oh, yes. A guy with great potential. Again, that P word, potential, because we haven't fully seen it. He hasn't unleashed it for us yet, but we're going to save that for this time next year. But Malik Hooker, I hate that I agree with you. I hate that I agree with you because we have been doing so well with picking different teams, but I have him going to Dallas because they need safety help. I think they've needed safety help ever since Darren Woodson left town. They've needed safety help. And I think that 1-year prove-it deal, he's not going to command a lot of money. He's going to come on the cheap, and he's got a really good ceiling if it pays off. If it doesn't, well, back to the drawing board.
Here's the thing, though. They do need safety help, And the reason why I'm not going to give him, I didn't give the next guy we have up to Dallas, is there's a guy that I hit on Egalita named Donovan Wilson, who is on the Cowboy. They didn't give him a chance his rookie year. They kind of held him back last year. And then when they finally put him in you saw the playmaking ability. I think this dude is a lot better than people think he is. And once he gets that time to show it, then all you need is that running mate. So if it's a Malik Hooker who can also hold up with that and stay healthy, Dallas could be very dangerous. Now, that next guy that we're talking about is a guy who has a lot of familiarity with the new Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator, and that would be Keanu Neal. And I have Keanu Neal going to the Seattle Seahawks. It's a style of defense that's very similar to him, to what he knows. Yes, it's not the same coaching staff, but it's still in that realm. And I think they'll be able to utilize him proper. The reason why I wouldn't have him signing with Dallas is because you have the draft, and I think Donovan Wilson is a potential stud in the making.
Nice. Keanu Neal here. He is another safety who hasn't reached his full potential because of injuries he suffered in 2018, 2019. Almost similar to Malik Hooker. We haven't seen that full potential. He's going to need to prove that he can stay healthy. Now, when I think of Keanu Neal, I think of one of those safeties who has the size of a linebacker, who can play closer to the line of scrimmage because of that size, who's a little bit more dangerous in that run-stopping game because he's got the size, he's got the tackle ability. So I could see him going to a team who wants to use him in a little bit of a hybrid role, a little bit of strong safety, probably more in that linebacker role. He has the ability to drop into coverage too, which will be beneficial. But he's got to go to a team that has a good running mate. I mean, that's something that you had mentioned before. You have to have a good running mate back there. And I have Keanu Neal pairing with Eddie Jackson in the Chicago secondary. So Eddie Jackson may not be as good of a tackler or as good in the run stopping game as Keanu Neal is. That's fine. Let Eddie Jackson play that free safety role. Let him be that ball hawk. You put Keanu Neal on the line of scrimmage. You put him in the box. You let him play against that run game. I mean, maybe he can take a game or two off when he plays the Packers. That'd be fine with me. But, you put him in that role, he could be successful there, and you still let Eddie be Eddie. You let Eddie go create those turnovers. What's that?
Who's going to be running for the Packers?
Currently, it's A.J. Dillon. Thank you. Jerk. I was waiting for it this whole show. I'm like, he's going to bring up something about the loss of Aaron Jones. And now, the Packers are saying all the right things. The Packers are saying, we're going to do everything we can to re-sign him before the league season starts. What that really means is we wish him the best of luck, but we want to sound good.
Sure.
I know. I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss you, buddy.
Not to interrupt your Keanu Neal, love and trying to, give the Bear fans some hope. To recap our last two segments. So, I have Richard Sherman going to the Las Vegas Raiders. William Jackson going to the New York Jets. Troy Hill going to the Detroit Lions. Patrick Peterson going to the Buffalo Bills. Jason Verrette going to the Arizona Cardinals. You have Sherman going to the Raiders. Jackson going to the Bills. Hill to the Chargers. Peterson to the Chiefs. Verrette to the Jets. Interesting, we have a lot of the same teams there.
They need help.
Then, with the safeties, I have Harris going to the football team.
Oh, the team that got rid of Alex Smith.
Johnson going to the New York Jets. Woods going to the Raiders. Malik Hooker going to the Dallas Cowboys. Keanu Neal to the Seattle Seahawks. And then you have Harris going to the Cleveland Browns. Johnson to the Raiders. Woods to the Panthers. Malik Hooker to the Cowboys. And Keanu Neal to the Chicago Bears. The only thing I'm going to say about the Neal to the Bears situation there is Neal does play the same position as Eddie Jackson.
So yeah, put him in that little bit. Put Eddie Jackson a free safety. Put Neal to a strong safety linebacker role. Let him.
Do you think Eddie can play it?
Is this Ryan Pace asking for advice?
Yes.
If so, I'm looking at my bank account right now to see if we're paying me for this, but I just checked. There's nothing there. Is it worth the opportunity? I would try it. I would.
All right.
Maybe
just checking.
Maybe that would make or break my career as a GM. I don't know.
No.
But I would give it a shot.
Making or breaking your career as a GM is trading up one spot for Mitchell Trubisky. That could make or break it. Passing on Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes.
And Patrick Mahomes, yeah.
You know, that could make or break it. I'm just saying.
No, they had to trade up to pass on them. Yeah.
You know, it's not a situation where like 26 teams passed on you. This is a situation where a specific team that needed a quarterback decided, you know something, we like this dude over here. Even though he doesn't have y'all's potential, but we like him anyway.
Ryan Pace really liked him because he liked that he drove an old car. I think I remembered that correctly. Ryan Pace
also,
really
he was humble.
Something
Or
like
broke.
that, or broke. I mean, you figure, why not draft a quarterback who's only started 1 year of college at the football powerhouse known as the University of North Carolina Tar Heels?
I just got a question on this subject since we're on this particular draft. Let's speak about the Niners. They took, all right. So, would you rather have? I know hindsight is 20/20, but trade for Jimmy G, draft Solomon Thomas, or have Deshaun Watson?
And we're removing everything that we currently know. I liked Deshaun Watson coming out of college though.
That's the thing.
I was surprised that so many teams were down on him in the draft process that pushed him to the middle, the back of the first round. I was very surprised at that. You're thinking, this is a quarterback who has led his team 4 years, championship games, played well on the biggest of stages, and it wasn't by accident.
And remember what San Fran gave up to get Jimmy G. They gave up a second-round pick.
Yeah. Jimmy G. But that just goes to show the brilliance of Bill Belichick. He buys low and he sells high. And guess what he's done already this offseason? He's bought low. He has some ridiculous cap number. Hold on. Let me double check this.
Just watch Mitchell Trubisky be a Patriots quarterback and be awesome.
So you have Bill Belichick And he has currently $66 million of cap space available to him. He doesn't need that. He can put together a team with a quarter of that. He doesn't need all 66. Like you have
Patrick Peterson.
You have to handcuff this guy. You got to put like one hand behind his back. This just isn't fair at this point. But he's already in buy low mode. He got his offensive lineman, and his offensive lineman took less money to come play for him again. Watch out, everybody. I think this is a year that New England Patriots come back as Bill Belichick.
I'm still trying to push that Kellen Mond there. Let's see what happens.
Kellen Mond, Texas A&M. Yes.
All right. That sounds like that's all for us today. I apologize for any speech or fumbling by my point. I don't know what's wrong with me tonight. I swear next time I'll be on point. Any words of wisdom for the people, Sean?
You know, a lot of these players are about to get paid, but that's 2021 income. They don't need to file that until next year. Remember, file your taxes, and I mainly say this episode after episode because I realize I still have to file my taxes, so I'm subtly doing this as a reminder for myself. But if it helps anybody else out there, you're welcome. I hope it does.
I did mine today.
Ooh, man! All right, I gotta do mine. I got a month and some change left.
I'm gonna give you an oldie but a goodie. Do not run with scissors in your hands. It's a bad idea.